Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for Renaissance Periodization. Let's talk about some overblown facets of nutrient timing. Wait, hold on a second. I myself was a huge proponent of nutrient timing for a long time. I thought it really, really mattered. And I still think that the nuances in nutrient timing, outside of just its basics, don't worry, we'll go over both, I still think they do make a difference, but only in very small ways. And for most of us, myself included, to be completely honest, many of these nuances will lead to essentially zero notable differences in our physique, in our performance, in our muscle gain, and our fat loss. That doesn't mean they lead to zero results. Over the long term, months and months and years, they can actually add up. But notable results means like you do a couple months of training and dieting with one way of nutrient timing, you do a couple months of training and dieting with another way of nutrient timing, both of them check the basics but have some nuanced differences, you're just not going to see a big difference. And what I'm saying here is you shouldn't spend much of your time on them. You got to get the basics of nutrient timing down first. And these other things, you can either, for most people, never spend your time on them. And for some people, just look at the nuances a little bit, read the RP Diet 2.0 book. It's got all the nuances in there ad nauseum. Make sure you're doing most of them properly or as theory best dictates. And then you get ready to get your pro card or whatever it is at that high of a level that you're trying to do with those nuances. But for most people, a lot of the stuff I'm going to say is kind of a poor use of time to think about and concern yourself with. So let's get right into it. I have 7 things about nutrient timing you probably shouldn't worry too much about. It's like, if you sneak up in your neighbor's house and they're asleep and you watch them while they're sleeping through their window, if you're not making a lot of noise, no harm, no foul. You don't need to worry about them calling the police or getting really scared and then calling police or all that stuff. That's what I tell myself. No big deal. Just a little peek. Anyway, nutrient timing. Number 1, 4 versus 5 versus 6 meals a day. If you Google that or you put it into YouTube, oh my God, you will get all kinds of answers about one being much better than the other and differences and application. Most of that is pure nonsense. 4, 5, and 6 meals a day have been studied in the literature, have been applied by an unbelievable number of strength athletes, and they lead to roughly the same results, even if you peer down closer. The same results, no matter what. How does that work? Well, if you eat more food at once, let's say with 4 times a day, when you eat that more food, it takes longer to digest, it takes longer to leach into your blood, and so you get an even presentation of nutrients in your bloodstream. If you decrease the size of each bolus of food of each meal, the presentation tends to be more rapid because your stomach digests it quicker, your intestines absorb it faster, so it's a little bit more of a pulse. But then you add in another meal, so the pulse evens out. You do 6 meals, quicker pulses, but the pulses are closer together, so they kind of fuse. The end result is almost the same. Now, if you eat 3 meals a day, especially if you eat 2 meals a day, definitely if you eat 1 meal a day, it's not an even amount of nutrients in the blood. It's distinct pulses with distinct times of your just muscles are not getting fed and not getting recovered, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I would say eat more than 4 meals a day, or rather 4. And anything above 4, if you want to eat it, totally cool. But if you think, hey, look, I'm eating 4 meals a day, enough, I'm trying to get gains, let me get to 6. That's not going to move the needle hardly at all if you keep other things constant. Next, very related point, 40 versus 45 versus 50 grams of protein per meal. How do I get the ideas to make these videos? People will ask in various social media, and I'll talk to real people in real life, and they'll be like, I'm worried I'm not getting enough protein. I'm getting 40 grams a meal. Should I bump it to 50 or 60? Bro, be easy. Here's how you figure out protein per meal. You take the number of meals you eat per day, 4, 5, or 6, let's call it. You take your total amount of protein. You divide your total amount of protein by the number of meals. Anything roughly close to that number is good to go. For example, if you're eating 200 grams of protein per day and you're eating 4 meals per day, that's roughly 50 grams of protein per meal. If some of the meals are 35 and some of the meals are 65, guys, I assure you, you will never be able to tell in your physique. There is essentially no theoretical difference because a slightly lower fractional synthetic rate of muscle protein synthesis and growth from the slightly smaller amount, a 35 gram meal, is compensated for in the next meal by the slightly higher and amount of muscle growth from that 65 grams of protein. Here's another really cool thing. The reason that it's compensated is because if you give your body just for a meal or two a little bit not enough protein, it becomes more sensitive to protein absorption and use in muscle growth for the next meals. So if it's 35, then 35, then 65, then 65, over that course of the day, you were growing a little bit too little muscle. Good God. You weren't growing enough muscle with the first 2 meals, but you were growing mega super compensatory amounts of muscle with the 65 grams of protein in the last 2 meals over the course of the day. If the meals were 50, 50, 50, 50 versus 35, 35, 65, 65, it's the same shit. And I mean, it's the same shit. So if you're going around and thinking, oh my God, I only had a protein bar and a half for breakfast, fuck, that's it. All my muscle is lost. You look in the mirror, you're Willem Dafoe, and you're like, oh shit, well, at least I'm a good actor who's been in tons of great movies. Scott the Video Guy, your favorite Willem Dafoe role. Hit it.
There was a firefight. Boondock Saints.
Oh, that was great. He was a hell of a character in that.
Oh man, great cross-dressed.
Unbelievable. My man. In any case, you don't want to end up like Willem Dafoe. I get it. You want to be jacked. He is so handsome in the face, but I digress. Don't you worry about these little protein amounts. Now look, don't eat like half of the protein you're supposed to per meal, but anything like 75%, even 70% of what you're supposed to eat, up to 130% of what you're supposed to eat, don't worry about it. So every meal doesn't have to be the exact same. Next. If you're concerned about carbohydrate spread over your meals, here's what you really should attend your concerns to. Do you have enough carbohydrate in your pre-workout meal, if you need that sort of thing, because if you train fasted in the morning, you might not even need it, to fuel your workouts? Try low carbing before workouts, try moderate carbing, try high carbing. A couple hours away so the stomach settles, see which one gives you the best performance. Sometimes you can't tell, then it doesn't matter. Sometimes you're like, yeah, when I eat at least 50 grams of carbs, I can feel it, it's great. Then really importantly, you want to have tons of carbs in the post-workout meal. You don't want to go low carb in a post-workout meal under almost any circumstances. The most important meal of the day to get carbohydrates is the post-workout meal. It sets up anabolism, reduces catabolism, sets up healing, sets up muscle growth, all the really good things. Puts you into a more relaxed state. It does all the wonderful things. As long as you have enough training energy, and as long as you're getting some decent carbs in that post-workout meal, and by decent, I mean take all of your carbs through the day, divide it by the number of meals, at least that number in the post-workout meal. So if you're getting 400 grams of carbs a day and you eat 4 meals a day, at least 100 grams in that post-workout meal and potentially much more. How else you spread your carbs through the day, as long as you have workout energy and you're eating at least a meal's worth of carbs in the post-workout meal, however else you spread the carbs out, just matters so little, it's barely worth worrying about. And I hate myself for using that word. Worry is an ancestral, outdated, animalistic emotion where you're like, do this, and it's not good for you. Don't worry about anything. Don't be concerned about anything. Things to consider, things to attend your mind to. You don't have to attend your mind to carbohydrate split in any scientific way beyond making sure you have enough carbs for training energy, which could be 0, and a decent chunk of post-workout carbs, at least the fraction of your total carbs divided by the number of meals you eat per day. As long as you have that in the post-workout meal and your training energy is good, how you split your carbs is really just up to you. And it could be due to other technical things. For example, you have a hard day's work, so you have to eat lots of carbs at breakfast and lunch. That makes sense. If you work a desk job, maybe you low carb it for the beginning of the day. Then after the workout, you high carb it for a few meals. That means in those individual situations, there are actually more correct answers than not. So I don't want to say just do what you prefer or, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter with regard to just nutrient timing for athletic performance, muscle gain, and fat loss. Other parts of your day, other things you want to do, that can matter. But in general, if you just spread your carbs out evenly and make sure you have enough carbs in that post-workout meal, and evenly is good enough. So even if your diet looks like this, meal 1, 100 grams of carbs, obviously protein and fat as well. Meal 2, 100 grams of carbs, workout. Meal 3, 100 grams of carbs. Meal 4, 100 grams of carbs, go to sleep a few hours later. That's totally cool. If you want to take a little bit of carbohydrate out of your evening meal and breakfast meal and put more of that into the post-workout meal, I can't promise you scientifically that that's going to make a notable difference. I believe theoretically over the long term, it'll make a tiny difference. If you're into that sort of thing, amazing. Then just take a little bit of carbs out of breakfast and the evening meal. But there are good arguments against when there's time not to do that. For example, if you have plenty of carbs in your pre-sleep meal, sometimes they can make you sleep better and recover better. If you have lots of carbs in your morning meal, it can give you more mental energy, physical energy to do your job, which, by the way, if you do your job well, you have the luxury of being able to pay for the RP Hypertrophy app, which costs a gazillion dollars. I can't afford it, but you guys are all Lambo owners. You can afford it, no problem. And it allows you to pay for gym memberships and food and all that other stuff. So if someone's like, well, you got a low carb in the morning, save carbs for the workout. And you're like, I'm not good at my job anymore. Don't do that, right? Because putting a ton of carbs into the post-workout meal is a theoretical benefit. And if it's practically inefficient for you, if you like have kids and a job and other things you want to do with your life, don't you worry about a thing. Even carbs over the meal is totally cool. As long as you're eating that post-workout meal and as long as you have training energy, you're golden. Next, number 4, protein digestion speed. Should you have a whey shake or a casein shake? There are practical ways to think about this that don't have much to do with muscle growth and fat loss. For example, if you are dieting and you have a whey protein shake in the morning and you don't eat for 6 hours later until lunch, you're going to starve to death about 1 hour after and for 5 hours until you get your next meal. If you have a whey protein shake, because it digests so quickly. If you have a casein protein shake, you'll be golden and you won't be starving for hours and hours and hours. You get hungry just in time for lunch. The hunger benefits are absolutely real. What about muscle growth? Well, here's the thing. A whey protein shake grows way more muscle because it pulses your protein really high. And then because you don't get that pulse for a while, you lose muscle. If you take a casein shake, it doesn't grow a whole lot of muscle, but it's in the blood constantly, so it prevents muscle loss. At the end of the day, drum roll, it's the same shit, just phrased differently. It's just kind of when you want to do it. It's like if you want to have a ton of sex really fast with someone, or like the same amount of sex spread over like 18 hours, you just like stroke and then pull out. And you're like, how was it? She's like, oh yeah, it was so good. Do it again. You're like, again, like right now, or like in 5 minutes. She's like, tempt me, 5 minutes. You're like, oh yeah, okay, great. And then in 5 minutes, she's like, do it again. You're like, I'm not hard anymore. I just started scrolling on my phone and I'm on Donald Trump memes at this point. Wait, I'm hard again. My man. Orange man bad. In any case, either way you spread it doesn't matter. Now, for hunger management, it matters. But I'll even caveat that. If you're on a muscle gain phase and you have a whey protein shake and you've been stuffing yourself for weeks, you're not going to get hungry. You're never going to get hungry. It's going to take 3 days of not eating anything to get hungry. Sure, shit, 6 hours will go by just fine. So a whey protein shake is a totally fine meal replacement. You can even have a whey protein shake at night if you want. Casein, you need it pre-sleep. Yeah, on a slight theoretical margin, I think it's benefit to have casein pre-sleep. But like, oh my God, that margin is so tiny. And because whey causes a big anabolic spike by itself, maybe even that margin doesn't exist on the net balance. So don't worry about protein digestion speed too much. And I didn't even put this down because it's a slightly different topic, but the glycemic index of the carbohydrate also doesn't matter. The only thing it matters for really, advanced recovery from multiple daily workouts where you do need high GI carbs after workouts, which most people aren't doing multiple daily workouts. So no big deal. You're not a track cyclist or some shit like that. And it matters for hunger management. Again, if you have like a glass of orange juice, absolutely an hour later, you'll be starving to death. If you have a whole bunch of berries, 3 hours later, you're totally fine. So if your hunger is a concern, definitely all those digestion speeds matter. If hunger is not a concern, it's no big deal. Another thing is if you are eating mixed meals, in the nutrition literature, mixed meals are meals with proteins and carbs and fats in some proportion. Non-mixed meals or pure meals or isolated meals are like either just all protein, all carbs, or all fats. Typical girl meal is like just like low-fat potato chips and a bagel. And you're like, that's not a meal. What are you doing? Where's the protein? Where are the fats? In any case, mixed meals, yeah, you can say, okay, I have a fast-digesting protein like a whey. Great. And you think, yeah, it's going to go bloop. But hold on a sec. In that whey shake, or you had that whey shake with oatmeal, some toast, okay, and a whole bunch of peanut butter, crunchy peanut butter, which is objectively better than creamy peanut butter. And I want to see you in the comments because I'll log in and I'll fight you tooth and nail. And I fight dirty. I will throw clumps of chunky nut butter at you until you like it. And if you don't like it, you're just wrong. Just leave America. Go to the moon. Go live on the moon with your weird creamy peanut butter where nobody likes you and you have no friends. And here's the thing. You put 10 people who like chunky peanut butter into a room together, the crunchy shit, and it's a party. You put 10 people who like creamy peanut butter in a room together, it's like all incels. They're weird. They stare at the wall. They try to bring up points and no one's listening. They just shut themselves up. I'm done here, but look, if you like creamy peanut butter, just come to the chunky side, come to the crunchy side. Pause. Scott, the video guy. Do I even have to ask?
Yeah.
Which side are you on, bro? You got beef?
Creamy Jeff all day.
Are you fucking kidding me,
I don't
bro?
like nuts in my mouth.
So you're homophobic. It's 2023, but you can't say shit like this. Scott, what is it that's so wrong with you that you can't enjoy good things like crunchy peanut butter?
Listen, cream.
Who hurt you when you were a child?
Crunchy peanut butter is like half-finished peanut butter.
Yeah? Is it your pastor when you were 7 years old was like, yeah, you're going to like creamy, huh? You're like, yes, pastor, I love creamy.
He filled me with it.
My man. Yeah, everyone's having a good time. In any case, I digress. Whey protein shake, so you think it's going to be fast digesting. Bowl of oatmeal, delicious. Some toast, amazing. Toast slathered with fine, any kind of nut butter you want. And you're like, hey, fast digesting protein, you need to eat like 2 hours later. Bullshit. Because the carbs and the proteins and the fats, well, they all mix together in your mouth. And then also, again, in your stomach. Your stomach has two functions. One is to chemically digest food. Two, and a lot of people don't know about this, is to physically churn the food and mechanically digest the food. That's why your stomach actually turns, right? So it just turns into the same fucking goo and is completely mixed together. So now fats slow down digestion like crazy. Carbs, especially a lot of carbs, especially carbs with lots of fiber, like the toast and the oatmeal, slow down digestion like crazy. That whey protein now digests at probably a similar speed to casein protein. So anytime you have mixed meals, which is almost always, thinking about digestion speed for protein, the answer is it's all either moderate or slow digesting. Almost anytime you eat a mixed meal. Definitely nothing to concern yourself with in any grand sense, maybe in any sense at all. Number 5, eating upon waking, like you get out of bed and you literally have a protein shake like right in bed. You like just drip it all over yourself. You got a girl with you that night, you drip it all over her. Bitch, wake up. You know what I'm saying? Time to get these gains, girl. Walk up out of my bed. Shit. Here's a shake. Get out of here. It's nice to call a girl an Uber on the way out. It's nicer if you give her muscle milk. Be like, I'm not saying you're too small, but take the hint. Fuck out of it. Get. Scott, the video guy, how do you, what's the proper way to kick him out?
Say skedaddle.
Skedaddle. They just wave the stick at him. Get. And they sort of jet out the door. They jump out the window with their party dress in hand and undies on, whatever. Oh, fuck. So in any case, you gotta get protein, bro, as soon as you wake up, because your muscles are dying. The catabolism's killing them. You're just sloughing off. You wake up at 7 a.m. You go back to bed. You wake up at 9. You look like Willem Dafoe. Everyone knows that. Versus you wake up, you're like Kino body. You just have like, well, a girl in your bed right away. And you guys, if you guys go check out the real Bruce, just Google the real Bruce Wayne by Kino body. Is good for some laughs. He like wakes up and he's like, I fucking wake up and I don't eat for hours. You're like, holy shit, what's he going to say next? Sir, how big is your dick? So he doesn't eat for a while. Who's right? Well, the answer is if you have, again, throughout the day, multiple high protein meals, at least 4, you can totally wait as many as 3 hours, no problem. And the net over the day balance of muscle growth and muscle loss is basically the same. Because if you wake up and you have protein right away, hey, that's great. The anabolism kicks in, the catabolism falls off. If you wait 3 hours, you do burn some muscle. Abso-fucking-lutely. And you miss out on time that you could be building muscle. But your body at that same time is getting incrementally more sensitive to muscle growth. So much so that if you wait 3 hours and then eat your protein, breakfast or whatever you're having, a shake, your body grows a crap ton of muscle as a feedback mechanism for that. And it makes up for the 3 hours pretty much entirely. So it doesn't matter. So if you're really concerned about like, okay, so I wake up and I generally like to just brush my teeth. I like to shower. I like to, pick dingleberries, whatever you do in the shower. I'm not here to judge. I do weird stuff in the shower. By the way, if you're interested, showercams.net/Dr. Mike. I'm just putting it out there. Look for. I have to make fucking money. Okay. The RP Hypertrophy app makes me a very rich man, but it's never enough. I've got a camera in my shower. It's technically 4 cameras. It's 5 cameras because one is, never mind. Should you be concerned? Because you're like an hour and a half later, you have breakfast. You're like, that's an hour and a half of me losing muscle. No. I mean, technically, yes. But as soon as you eat, you make up for it completely, such that you never have to be concerned with this sort of thing. So if you prefer to not eat when you wake up for a few hours, totally golden. If you go and do cardio, then hey, that's really great. Which brings me to my next point. Number 6, fasted cardio versus fed state cardio. Fasted cardio is when you don't eat for a while, maybe 3 hours, maybe the whole night, and you go do cardio. Burning pure fat, brother. Fed state cardio is when you eat a meal and potentially within 1, 2, or 3 hours, or even like right away, you go and do cardio. The differences between them are so unbelievably minor, it basically doesn't matter. Cardio isn't this magic thing that burns tons of fat right there and then. It does some of that. It also burns some carbs. It also burns some protein, like your muscle. What it really does is it takes your calorie deficit and it sinks it lower for you. And if you eat a meal and then sink the calorie deficit lower, the meal that you just ate, some of it spills into that deficit. And then overall, you have a certain calorie deficit for the day. If you do it fasted, your body fat and muscle and glycogen spills into that meal. That's what you use instead, spills into that cardio deficit. But then later when you have meals, they're really anabolic and there's really no interference. And so it's made up for. What matters is you burn the 500 extra calories from cardio per day. That 500, you just add on to your other expenditure. That's the magic of cardio. When you do it, doesn't exactly matter. On a theoretical basis, on a practical basis, it can. First of all, what's more convenient for you? If you're waking up early in the morning to do fasted cardio, because you think like this is the way to get real gains, great. Enjoy your 2% better gains. By that I mean 2% more fat loss. And I don't mean 2% of your body fat. I mean, if you're losing 7% body fat on a diet, I mean 2% of 7%. There is no device currently invented to even measure that degree of fat loss difference. And if you ruin your sleep, if you take off, I don't know about you guys, from like 6 to 7:30 in the morning, I sometimes get my best sleep of the whole night. I'm dead, bro. REMing and shit like Neo in the Matrix. It's amazing. If I have to do fasted cardio then instead, and contract the quality of my sleep, that is going to regain me and prevent me from losing fat so much. It's a huge net negative. On the other hand, some people love fasted cardio. They wake up, they hit it, they do it. I do fasted cardio. I don't wake up super early, but I wake up, my wife and I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu. That is not a euphemism for sex. I haven't had sex in weeks, months. No, hold on. Technically, ever, I guess. We're still waiting for the right time. It's a sensitive issue. Where was I? Yes, I wake up, train, and we go do cardio, come back, and then I have breakfast, and then we, begin work for the day. It works totally fine. But if I had some food and then did cardio, it's almost the same thing. Not a big concern, not stuff to spend your time thinking about. And lastly, number 7 thing you shouldn't be worried too much about is whether or not you eat 3 hours before you go to sleep as your last meal, or an hour, or right before bed. It all comes down to, are you getting good high quality sleep? If you eat 3 hours before bed, on a fat loss diet, and by the time you got to go to sleep, you're so hungry you can't fall asleep, you have a fucking problem. You need to eat closer to bed so that you're nice and satiated and that you can fall asleep and stay asleep. If you're in a mass gaining phase, let's say, and you eat right before bed, you wake up like a body temperature of 90 degrees, 120 degrees or some shit like that. And you're like, you guys ever wake up like digesting food and you're hot as fuck. You're like, oh my God, you take off the sheets, right? And you're like, have energy because you're like, oh shit, I ate 90 grams of carbs. Of course I have fucking energy. Why the hell am I awake? Well, there's the answer. That case, you need to eat 3 hours before or 1.5 or whatever it is. So just whatever it is that gets you good sleep, experiment. And it's not that hard of an experiment. Try eating a while before bed, try eating really close to bed, and try eating in between and see which one works better for you. If you're getting high quality sleep, there's no magic. There's not like if you eat just before bed, great things happen. It's not true. Now, that's the stuff that doesn't matter. What does matter? Like, don't worry about nutrient timing. And I hate this from stupid fitfluencers, influ-fitners, whatever the hell you call them. They're like, nutrient timing doesn't matter. Like, oh my God, nothing matters. Great. How do you have abs and I don't? How the fuck do I get that if nothing matters? Well, yeah, man. What does matter? At least 4 things. 1, 4 meals, more if you like, at least 4 high protein meals per day. Your grams of protein should be your pounds in body weight roughly evenly divided by the number of meals you eat per day, which should be at least 4. And by at least 4, I mean 4 is a totally amazing, perfect answer. I often have 4 meals a day. Sometimes I have 5. I almost never have 6 anymore. If you spread those meals roughly evenly throughout the day, every 3 to 6 hours you have a meal, you're fucking golden. That is critical. If you're eating 3 meals a day, you can get great results. Not the best results, though. And you probably watch this channel to get something like very good results, at least, and maybe your best effort. And because eating 4 times a day is so nominally easy compared to eating 3, it really is interesting when I talk to folks in real life and on the internet. And some folks will be like, yeah, man, 4 meals a day, that's a lot, bro. I just like to eat 3. Like, what? That's difficult for you? So you have breakfast, lunch, dinner. You can't fucking do like an evening snack of fucking yogurt? What? Like, that's what's keeping you from your best gains is you can't eat. It doesn't make any sense to me. 4 meals a day is a serious person's number of meals per day. 3 meals, that's what your dad ate when he worked on the farm when he was 19. He was not trying to get fucking jacked. 2 meals a day is like some weird intermittent fasting shit. Those people are almost never jacked. 1 meal a day is something if you do, you're really proud of it and you talk about. Fucking OMAD, bro. OMAD. What do you guys think of OMAD? OMAD thoughts? Like fucking Reddit dumpster fire, lighter. Anyway, so that's important. 4 meals a day, roughly evenly spread, plenty of protein in each meal. Number 2, enough daily protein, carbs, and fats and calories to get to your goals. About 1 trillion videos on that at RP, so go ahead and give that a search. That's really much more important than nutrient timing. Next, having enough energy for workouts. And if you don't have enough energy for workouts, moving your nutrients around in such a way that you do. And lastly, but not least importantly, not starving for 2 hours after workouts. Finish your workout and either have your shake with you right there to start drinking with protein and carbs, or get in the car, drive up to an hour, get the shake, get the meal in. I wouldn't wait much longer than an hour. I sure shit wouldn't wait much longer than 2. It's an important window there to start that recovery process and stop muscle catabolism and all the other good things. So if you're eating at least 4 meals a day, high protein, you're getting your proteins, carbs, and fats and calories checked off. You have enough energy for workouts, and post-workout, you get to recovering pretty quick with plenty of protein and plenty of carbs. If you're doing that, if you send me your diet and you're like, hey, I'm doing this as a diet, and it checks all those boxes, and you ask me, hey, like, where are the holes? What could I be doing better? My honest answer would be like, dude, this is fucking good, man. This is really good. And unless you're doing some wacky stuff outside of there, you're good to go. Don't sweat the small stuff. Click on the link in the description. Get you the RP Hypertrophy app. It's amazing. I use it myself, and it gets better all the time. Anyway, see you guys next time.